Take notes next time you want to do an adaptation of my Shyamalan. This is how you do a live-action version of Avatar: The Last Airbender. For one, the names are pronounced correctly in this version, and the cast is Asian, so that's already two big improvements over the film. And thankfully, though the overall journey and story are the same, this is not a simple beat-for-beat version of the original. The 8-episode series runs at about an hour per episode, as opposed to 22-minute, 20 episodes, and that gives it plenty of time to expand the world and lore in ways the cartoon didn't. For one, the first 15 minutes of the first episode show the Fire Nation wiping out the Airbenders, and what clued me in that this was going to be a different feel of the cartoon was the fact that the violence level is a bit more intense. Like, people are actually burned by the Fire Nation and by Fire Lord Ozai on screen, as opposed to the cartoon where it kind of cuts away or the violence is more implied. It is a bit more graphic in the violence department, almost to the point where it is a little bit PG-13. Season 1 of the cartoon was pretty playful and child-friendly, and it wasn't until seasons 2 and 3 that the show stakes became a bit more serious and touched on heavier themes. But this one, it goes straight for it. It shows the brutality of war. It goes straight for it. The violence is intense. And there's also some mild profanity, which I wasn't a fan of, but they kind of did that to make it, I guess, more mature version of this because it's live action. So yeah, it's definitely a PG-13 show instead of a PG show. And this version also gets a bit more focus on Azula, which I liked. Azula doesn't really show up until season 2, but we get to see more of her in this in ways we didn't really get to see her in this season. I like that they put more focus on Azula. And this show is also very high budget and cinematic. Now, my one issue with this show is Sokka. A few weeks before the show came out, I read an article that rumored that they were going to take away Sokka's sexism, and I can unfortunately tell you that that is 100% correct. His sexist attitudes are gone, which means that as a result, the Warriors of Kyoshi plotline is pointless, and what they do with that instead is make that a romance subplot that doesn't go anywhere. And the way they wrote Sokka in this version just makes him less interesting than a block of wood. Something that has unfortunately carried over from that film that we do not speak of. He wasn't interesting in that, he wasn't interesting in this. And, I also wish they hadn't just done a straight-up adaptation of Season 1. Avatar: The Last Airbender is an already perfect show, so I wish that if you want to do an Avatar show, you do a show set in the same world, but introduce us to new characters and plot lines. I wish that they had done that instead of just remaking something that was already perfect. So as a result, there is something there that is a little bit lost in adaptation, but it's still great. If you're a fan, it's worth visiting. For me, I'd give it an A-, 9 out of 10, and 4 out of 5 stars.